Ethan Vance reclined on a sprawling charcoal sofa, a leather-bound script resting open on his legs. His lines had been meticulously highlighted in a sharp lime green. He listlessly turned a page, his gaze repeatedly drifting to the smartphone sitting on the marble end table beside him. 5 minutes. The device remained as silent as stone. Ethan picked it up, inspecting it for the third time. Do Not Disturb was off, the signal bars were full. There was no technical glitch, he was simply being ignored. Ethan had known fame from a young age, winning his first Oscar the year he graduated from Juilliard. His entire career had been a smooth, upward trajectory, cushioned by handlers and admirers. It had been a long time since he'd had to wait for anyone's attention. He opened his messaging app and scrolled up. Only a few days ago, Leo Foster had been flooding his phone with selfies, never missing a morning or evening greeting. Between those bookends were an endless stream of memes and funny videos he'd found online, a chaotic but constant presence. Ever since the news broke, all he'd gotten was a single, 3-word message. I'm sorry. Then radio silence. The most recent message in their chat history was Ethan's own, a terse, dry query sent minutes ago. You up? Normally, a message from Ethan, even at 2 in the morning, would elicit an immediate, enthusiastic response. A single punctuation mark from him could inspire Leo to compose a miniature dissertation in reply. But today, annoyance prickled at Ethan's skin. He remembered Leo telling him he'd been his idol since he was a kid, that Ethan was the reason he'd even become an actor. He wondered if it was all a lie. What kind of fan just ignores their idol's message? Across the vast living room, Ethan's manager, David, was pacing, speaking in low, urgent tones into his own phone. Seeing the impatient scowl on Ethan's face, David offered him a placating glance before stepping out onto the balcony, giving the simmering movie star his space. Ethan had a face blessed by the heavens. Even his temper tantrums were captivatingly handsome, his furrowed brow adding a dangerous charm. Ethan snatched his phone again, thinking the text he'd sent felt too casual, almost like a cheap pickup line. A phone call felt more appropriate. He reasoned that Leo was young, thin-skinned. With a scandal like this erupting, it was understandable he'd be too embarrassed to reach out. Ethan had been in the business for over a decade, navigating storms Leo couldn't even imagine. It wasn't right to get angry with a kid. It would make him seem petty. With that thought, he dialed Leo's number. It went straight to voicemail. The barely contained fire inside Ethan roared to life. If David hadn't been nearby, the phone would have met the polished concrete floor. He took several deep breaths, but the frustration was too much. He kicked the plush ottoman in front of him. David returned from the balcony, a practiced smile on his face. Ethan's latest film had just secured another award, and the investors for his next project were practically throwing money at them. David asked if he'd had a chance to look at the script. Ethan's expression was flat. He said he couldn't focus. In public, Ethan was the epitome of grace and humility. Only a select few knew the volatile temper that lay beneath. David, long accustomed to it, gently probed, asking what had him so wound up. Ethan's gaze was cool as he stated that Leo was ignoring him. David managed a strained chuckle, pointing out how Leo was usually so attentive, how he'd come running at any hour with just one call. This reminder was the final straw. Ethan's control snapped. He hurled his phone against the far wall. It shattered with a sickening crack. He gave a cold laugh, asking if David really thought one call would bring him over now. Ethan kicked a decorative stool out of his path and started unbuttoning his shirt as he stalked toward the staircase leading to the rooftop pool. 2 years ago, Leo Foster was just another face in the crowd, a fresh graduate from drama school. Then came a breakout role in a gritty period piece last year. Playing the charismatic antagonist, he unexpectedly captured the public's imagination and became an overnight sensation. His agency, a minor player in the industry, was unprepared but ecstatic. They threw every resource they had behind him, and within a year, Leo had ascended to bona fide Hollywood it boy status. David had seen plenty of young actors explode with sudden fame. Many became arrogant, insufferable, or completely lost their minds. Leo was different. Even at the height of his initial buzz, he remained remarkably humble. At industry events, whenever he saw Ethan, he would be the first to his feet, respectfully offering his seat or a quiet greeting. In group photos, he would instinctively shrink to the periphery, trying to make himself part of the background. But when he thought no one was looking, his eyes were invariably fixed on Ethan. David had once seen Leo, from a distance, pretend to take a selfie while secretly angling the phone to capture Ethan behind him. A stolen two-shot he never posted, presumably kept for his private collection. Their paths officially crossed earlier this year when Ethan, known for his eclectic and fearless role choices, signed on to an independent art house film exploring a complex, tragic romance between two men. To everyone's surprise, Leo, who should have been capitalizing on his fame with blockbuster roles, pursued the second lead. The film was a two-hander, but Leo insisted from the start that Ethan was the sole protagonist. The script included several intense, intimate scenes between them. David hadn't been on set for much of the filming, but he knew that by the time it wrapped, the two had grown close. Ethan had taken a liking to the earnest, talented newcomer, often mentoring him after hours. Their friendship continued after the shoot, but Leo was always careful. He never posted about Ethan, never used his connection to the A-lister for clout. He was simply a persistent, devoted friend. He would even visit Ethan on other sets, bringing thermoses of homemade chili that made the rest of the cast, subsisting on catered craft services, burn with envy. Ethan, basking in the attention, once tried to introduce a flustered Leo to the director and producer. But Leo had vanished the moment Ethan turned to put on his coat, leaving only the empty thermos behind. Ethan had chewed him out over the phone later, demanding to know why he ran. Leo just laughed nervously and asked when he could visit again. It was the first time anyone had rebuffed Ethan's goodwill, and he'd hung up in a fit of pique. Leo, horrified, had called back repeatedly, his voice tight with panic as he apologized to David, who had picked up the phone. Even through the speaker, David could hear the genuine distress in Leo's voice, the earnest promises to make it up to him. It was enough to soften anyone's heart, let alone Ethan's. After that, things settled into a routine. Ethan would call and Leo would come. When Ethan drank too much at industry parties, Leo was the one he'd call for a ride. Ethan Vance, who wouldn't get in a car with his closest friends when he was drunk, trusted Leo implicitly. And Leo, no matter how tired he was, would always show up and make sure Ethan got home safe. David never pried into Ethan's personal life, but he'd begun to suspect the true nature of their relationship when the news broke. A major tabloid ran an exposé, Leo Foster's Price of Fame, working for free to sleep with Oscar winner Ethan Vance. The story revealed that Leo had taken no salary for the film. Suddenly, everything made sense. It was a solid story with too many sources to be easily dismissed. Other outlets began digging up old photos of Leo's adoring gazes at events. And one even had a picture of Leo dropping Ethan off at his high-security condo building, a story Ethan's team had managed to kill at the time. David had heard from a contact that the leak came from another actor at Leo's own agency, a jealous rival looking to sabotage his career. In the face of the scandal, Ethan's PR team worked with ruthless efficiency, shutting down any narrative that painted Ethan in a negative light and then adopting a position of strategic silence. Leo's agency, however, was flailing. For 2 days, they'd done nothing effective, and the online vitriol against Leo grew, with trolls accusing him of everything from being a pathetic stalker to a social climbing parasite. Ethan had tried to contact Leo the moment he heard, but the ever-present, ever-available Leo was gone. By the rooftop pool, Ethan, clad only in swim trunks and dark sunglasses, scowled into his glass of kale juice. He complained to David that, in this situation, Leo should have been the one running to him, begging for help to fix this mess. David just sighed. Ethan, with his industry pedigree, immense talent, and powerful family, had never known a moment of true professional vulnerability. He couldn't possibly understand the shame and terror Leo must be feeling. David slipped the SIM card from the shattered phone into a spare and powered it on. He informed Ethan there were no new messages. Ethan's jaw tightened. He declared he was going to post something on Twitter himself to set the record straight. David quickly intervened, reminding him of a past incident where he had quote-tweeted a negative tabloid story with the comment, "My PR team is on vacation, so allow me to translate this for you." Bullshit. David argued that such a move now would only add fuel to the fire and hurt Leo more. Ethan hesitated, realizing David was right. He understood that Leo was likely hiding out of shame. The news that he'd worked for free had all but confirmed the depth of Leo's feelings. A memory of their first love seen in the film flickered through his mind, and the corner of his mouth twitched upward. He made a decision. He told David to call Wes, the director, about that PSA they had discussed. He was in with one non-negotiable condition. He got to choose his co-star. Half an hour later, Leo, who wanted nothing more than to disappear from the face of the earth, was dragged out of his darkened apartment by his agent, Mark. Leo couldn't even look him in the eye, mumbling that it was all his fault and he would accept whatever consequences the agency decided on. Mark, however, was beaming, his frustration from the past few days replaced by manic glee. He told Leo about a major campaign for a prominent LGBTQ+ charity, Love Without Limits. They were producing a short film, and they wanted Leo for the lead. Mark paused for dramatic effect before delivering the knockout punch. His romantic co-star would be Ethan Vance. It was Ethan himself who had requested him. Mark excitedly explained that this was a godsend, a perfect way to reframe the narrative. Who would dare call him a desperate hanger-on now? Leo was stunned, his face burning with a mixture of hope and utter mortification. The thought of facing Ethan was terrifying. Mark coached him relentlessly on the drive over, telling him to be professional, to apologize sincerely, and to let Ethan take the lead. He stressed that Ethan was doing him a massive favor. Leo arrived on set first, his stomach churning with anxiety. He felt the curious, pitying glances of the crew. The assistant director was excessively kind, which only made it worse. He took a deep breath and turned on his phone for the first time since the scandal broke. The screen lit up with notifications, but only one mattered. A single unread message from Ethan. "You up?" The simple words sent a pang of regret through him so sharp it almost buckled his knees. Just then, a flurry of activity near the entrance signaled Ethan's arrival. Flanked by an entourage, Ethan strode in, head down, eyes fixed on his phone, wearing sunglasses so large they obscured half his face. He walked right past Leo without a flicker of recognition. Crushed, Leo fumbled with his phone, typing and deleting a long, rambling message before settling on a carefully worded, professional reply. Inside his private dressing room, Ethan radiated an Arctic chill. He sat in the makeup chair, sunglasses still on, a silent to all who entered. The fact that Leo had seen him and not immediately approached stoked his anger. During the filming of their movie, Leo would have been at his side instantly, stammering through pleasantries, asking to run lines. The assistant director entered cautiously, explaining that Wes was finishing up another shot and would be over shortly. Ethan removed his sunglasses, his gaze so cold it seemed to lower the room's temperature. Just as the AD was about to retreat, Ethan's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and the hard line of his mouth softened almost imperceptibly. The AD seized the opportunity to escape. Leo waited, but no reply came. He was used to that. Ethan often didn't respond to his messages. The problem now was figuring out how to apologize in person. He paced the hallway, trying to summon the courage to knock on Ethan's door, but his feet felt bolted to the floor. The shoot was delayed by an issue with the other actors, leaving him in an agonizing limbo. As he stood pretending to read his script, he saw Ethan emerge from his room. Ethan hadn't been through makeup yet, but his natural charisma was staggering. Hair casually pushed back, hands in his pockets, he turned the drab studio hallway into a runway. He walked directly toward Leo. Leo's face flushed. He straightened his clothes awkwardly, heart pounding. Just as he was about to speak, Ethan brushed past him, his shoulder barely an inch away, and continued down the hall without a word, without a single glance. It took Leo a full minute to process what had just happened. He returned to his dressing room, defeated. The unilateral Cold War had begun. During the director's briefing, Ethan's attention was fixed either on Wes or his script, his face a mask of detached professionalism. The chill emanating from him was so palpable that everyone from the director down to the production assistants spoke in hushed tones. Leo felt sick. He couldn't figure out what he'd done wrong. If Ethan thought he was a manipulative user, he wouldn't have arranged this job in the first place. But if he was trying to help, why was he acting like this? Had he already changed his mind? As Leo spiraled, the makeup artist came to find him for a touch-up. Entering Leo's Spartan dressing room, the artist rubbed his hands together, remarking how wonderfully warm it was inside. He mentioned that he'd heard Ethan tell a PA to move 2 of the large space heaters from his own well-appointed trailer into Leo's, saying the cold was bad for makeup application. Leo stared blankly at the 2 humming machines blasting warm air into his small space. It was a small gesture, but it was everything. It wasn't the scandal Ethan was angry about. It was the silence. It was that Leo had disappeared on him. The realization cleared the fog in his mind. He grabbed his phone and, with trembling fingers, typed out a series of messages, pouring out his heart. A few minutes later, Ethan's phone chimed. He glanced at the screen, and the icy facade he'd maintained for hours finally cracked, melting into a faint, almost invisible smile. The messages from Leo were a torrent of apology, explaining that he had been too ashamed to make contact, afraid that Ethan would be disgusted by him. He begged Ethan not to ignore him anymore. Ethan leaned back in his chair, a sense of satisfaction washing over him. He typed back a short reply, asking if Leo would still hide the next time trouble came. The response was immediate, a promise that he would never do it again, followed by a stream of consciousness ramble about the heaters, worrying if Ethan was cold now, offering to bring them back, and chiding him for not wearing a warmer jacket. Ethan's good mood was fully restored. He looked up and gave the anxious director a dazzling, benevolent smile, asking him to start his explanation again from the beginning. The director, relieved that the on-set apocalypse had been averted, began to speak. Ethan then interrupted, asking if they could wait for Leo to join them. He added as an afterthought whether there was a bed scene. The director, flustered, assured him there was not. Ethan feigned disappointment, critiquing the script's lack of ambition. The scene was set in a bathroom, an intimate moment where Leo would wipe shaving cream from Ethan's chin before they kissed. Ethan's assistant brought him a pack of gum. He popped 2 pieces in his mouth and, while chewing, told the director to continue. Wes explained that after Leo wiped away the foam, he wanted a natural, unforced kiss. No need for a dramatic stare-down, just a simple, domestic moment. While the director talked, Leo discreetly got 2 pieces of gum from Ethan's assistant. As he popped them into his mouth, he looked up and saw Ethan watching him over the director's shoulder, a playful, knowing smirk on his face. Leo's mind went completely blank. The set was ready. Ethan, without a word, stripped off his button-down, revealing the lean, defined muscles of his torso. The stylist tousled his hair, and Ethan leaned against the vanity, instantly transforming into a picture of lazy, confident sensuality. Leo took a deep breath and removed his own jacket. The stylist applied a dab of shaving cream to Ethan's jaw. Action was called. Ethan's expression softened into one of tender affection. Leo, his heart hammering, carefully wiped the foam away with a towel. It had been less than an hour since they'd made up, and he was still reeling, terrified of making another misstep. Ethan suddenly wrapped an arm around Leo's waist, pulling him closer. Before Leo could finish, Ethan dipped his head and kissed him. Leo's eyes widened. The director hadn't said anything about a French kiss. He felt the gentle probe of Ethan's tongue, and his entire body went rigid. Cut. Ethan pulled back, frowning, and complained that Leo's performance was unnatural. Leo, his face on fire, stammered an apology. Ethan, his voice cool and critical, asked if he wasn't in character, or if it was Ethan himself who was the problem. Leo frantically insisted the fault was his. They reset. For the next hour, Ethan sabotaged every take with a new, ridiculous excuse. Cut. A piece of lint fell on his shoulder. Cut. He blinked too fast. Cut. His ears are turning red. It's distracting. I can't kiss that. It finally dawned on Leo that Ethan was deliberately tormenting him. Between takes, as the crew reset, he approached Ethan, his face crimson, and begged him to let it go. Ethan took a sip of water and scoffed, asking why he should let it pass when Leo was as stiff as a board. For the 7th take, Leo knew he had to do something different. As Ethan pulled him close, Leo met his eyes, and just before Ethan's lips touched his, Leo surged forward, capturing Ethan's mouth in a kiss that was both tender and fiercely confident. He deepened it, his initial hesitation replaced by a surprising boldness. For a moment, Ethan was the one who was stunned. Then he relaxed into it, a flicker of surprised approval in his eyes as he returned the kiss with equal intensity. Cut! The director yelled, his voice filled with relief. Perfect. We got it. After filming, Ethan gave a brief interview to a reporter on set. He spoke warmly about Leo, praising his dedication and professionalism. He stated calmly that he had known Leo for a long time and that people shouldn't be swayed by malicious rumors designed to hurt a talented young actor. He finished by looking directly into the camera with a disarming smile and telling his fans to be nice. Later that evening, in the minimalist luxury of Ethan's penthouse, Leo was watching a recording of that interview for the 100th time. His face a picture of pure adoration. Ethan, fresh from a shower and wrapped in a plush robe, walked in and scowled, telling him to turn it off because he couldn't stand to look at his own face. Leo closed the app, his heart still fluttering. He sincerely thanked Ethan for everything. Ethan's tone was mocking as he criticized Leo's agency for its slow response. The conversation turned to Leo's contract. Ethan casually mentioned that if he were to sign an actor, his commission would be minimal, maybe 20%, or even nothing if it was a friend. Leo, completely missing the point, replied earnestly that Ethan was a really good person. Ethan nearly choked on his wine. He had just been handed a good person card. He decided to try a more direct approach. He told Leo to sit down. The command was soft, but carried an undeniable weight. Leo immediately sat on the floor by the sofa. Ethan leaned forward, his voice dropping to a low murmur as he asked if Leo would be so obedient about other things, too. He reached out and gently pinched Leo's earlobe. A blush crept up Leo's neck. Ethan leaned closer still, his lips brushing against Leo's ear, as he whispered a question about whether Leo knew he wasn't a good person at all. Leo, trembling slightly, just nodded. In that moment, with the city lights twinkling through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind them, Ethan kissed his earlobe. That night, Leo slept in Ethan's bed, his mind a whirlwind of disbelief and joy, while Ethan, the owner of the sprawling penthouse, slept on the sofa. The next morning, Ethan was on the phone with David, instructing him to start the process of signing Leo. David was hesitant that Leo's current agency would fight tooth and nail to keep their cash cow. Ethan laughed it off. Meanwhile, Leo woke up in Ethan's bed feeling like he was in a dream. He was still giddy when he got an urgent call from Mark demanding a meeting. At a quiet cafe, Mark laid out the agency's new strategy. They were offering Leo a new contract with an unprecedented 20% commission split. Leo was stunned. But there was a catch. Mark explained that the agency was about to launch an aggressive media campaign, using the scandal to frame Ethan as a manipulative predator. The plan was to create a public feud so toxic that Ethan would never want to work with Leo, effectively trapping him at the agency. Mark, ever the pragmatist, urged him to take the deal. The money was life-changing, and a future with Ethan Vance was a fantasy. Ethan, having spent the morning engrossed in a script, finally turned his phone off airplane mode. A flood of missed calls from David poured in. He called back, cheerfully asking if Leo was ready to sign. David's voice was grim. He said it was too late. The agency had made their move before he could get to Leo, offering him a deal no one would refuse. They couldn't reach Leo. His phone was off. Ethan felt a cold dread creep into his chest. He hung up, grabbed his car keys, and stormed toward the door, a mix of fury and heartbreak churning inside him. He threw the door open and froze. On his doorstep stood Leo, hair disheveled, clothes rumpled, flanked by 2 large suitcases. He looked like a refugee. Leo managed a weak smile, explaining that the apartment was company-owned and he couldn't stay there anymore. He stammered, asking if he could possibly stay with Ethan, promising to sleep on the floor and do all the cooking. He said he'd tried to call, but Ethan's phone had been busy. Just as Ethan was about to speak, his phone vibrated. It was a message from David. It contained a series of grainy security camera stills. In the photos, Leo was in a large office, surrounded by several executives who were physically restraining him, trying to cover his mouth. In one shot, Leo had twisted his head toward the camera, his face contorted with desperation. Ethan zoomed in on the subtitles David had added, transcribed from the audio. "I did it for him. I got into this business because of him. The next photo, I love him." The truth hit Ethan with the force of a physical blow. Leo hadn't taken the deal. He had torched his own career to protect him. He looked at the exhausted, hopeful man standing in his doorway. Leo asked quietly if the offer to sign him was still on the table. Ethan finally found his voice. He asked Leo if he knew how long his contracts were. Leo guessed maybe 5 years, maybe 8. Ethan shook his head. a lifetime. Before Leo could react, Ethan pulled him into a fierce embrace, holding him tight. He leaned down, his lips brushing Leo's ear, and whispered, "I love you too." Two silent tears traced paths down Leo's cheeks before he buried his face in Ethan's shoulder and finally let go.